your last life with free will choice, once again, your gift from God, to do whatever you did, which then created the path into this one. I had a student last week in Erie, Pennsylvania, who said, Dan, I do believe in this reincarnation thing, but do I have to come back? I said, well, tell me. We'll call him Fred. I said, well, tell me, Fred, is there anything in this life that you really can't stand? You don't, oh, God, yeah. I said, you're coming back. I'm not going to make you come back. It's that you will choose to come back. As the native people say, you know, walk in my moccasins. Well, it doesn't do us any good, Pete, today, but, you know, walk in my moccasins if you want to judge me. So when you pass over, you're going to have a life review. Everything you've ever done, you're going to re-experience. All your dreams and as mammals, we have, what, 4 to 7 a night? There's a lot of stuff. But now you're going to know what your soul is teaching you every night. So you're going to come into this reality of this whole life from birth to death. There's no hell. There's no devil. There's no sin. There's no evil. There's only God, there's only good, and it's all perfection. There you go. So that gives you an opportunity in your next life review, because you're going to have another one, to look at all your stuff, and then you get to choose, do I need to come back into this form or into another form in another dimension to continue my growth and aspiration to become a god or goddess in training so I can help in the co-creation. When God creates, because God is perfect, universe, omniverse. It's absolutely perfect, it's balanced, it's everything that it needs to be. When we create, we go, oh God, I hope I do this right. And that's what we make. Nothing wrong with that. But in terms of your life experience, you get to review what it is that you created. Buddha said, who you are is what you have been. What you do today is what you will be. Same thing. All right? Charles Dickens, Christmas Carol, Christmas past, present, future. All those 3 ghosts visited. When he finally got to the part of looking at the probable future, he realized, I better change my life because I don't want that future to happen. We've got the same option. We're sitting right now in the collection of every past life we've ever had for billions of years. You're the end result of all those free will choices, and now what you're sitting is your perfection, and it's exactly what you needed to have in this lifetime to learn about love and creativity. What you do with it in this lifetime will determine the next one, whether here or somewhere else, as we said before. You've got nothing to lose here. So all you simply have to do is love yourself as God does. You know, love your neighbor as yourself. Buddha is really funny when it comes to the commandments, because I read one just the other day. It wasn't really a commandment, but he said this. He said about celibacy, he said, well, you know, when you're enlightened or you're working on the spiritual path, you really ought to choose celibacy and not be promiscuous. Otherwise, it would be like you being in a pit of hot charcoal or charcoal pit. He says, on the other hand, if you can't be celibate, at least don't mess with your neighbor's wife. That man had a sense of humor. He knew the human condition. So here we are. We've got all these rules and regulations, but basically, there's no judgment. So you're the one who's going to sit in the judgment seat when you're done with this lifetime, as well as you've done for many others. The key here is this. If you choose now to love yourself as God does, accept the fact that you are perfect, you automatically change your future in this life, starting today, as well as future lifetimes. Now, you've met thousands of people in your life. I have. I've been very fortunate. And you'll meet many more people before you check out. I mean, nobody gets out of here until your work is done. That's called graduation. All right? So having the opportunity to love yourself as God does today gives you an opportunity to meet lots of people in your future, in this life, and make an impact, because you're now their catalyst for change. And your future lifetimes. So let's say in your next incarnation you're coming back as this or that because it's what you decided you needed to do to be perfect in that life as well. And now here are all these people that are going to attend you in that lifetime. But now you're different. Now you've mastered yourself. Mastership is not about raising the dead and walking on water, folks. We walk on water in upstate New York every winter. It's really easy. We even cut holes in it and go fishing. Although not this year. We didn't get ice. Did y'all get ice here this year? No, it's kind of creepy, isn't it? So anyway, there's a movie out, and I think some of you have seen it. Have you seen the Happy movie yet? Oh God, you've got to see it. If you haven't seen it, owe it to yourself. I think you can like download it or whatever all that stuff is. It's a movie based on what causes happiness. You know, you've probably heard the Dalai Lama teaching, and I mean, he's a fabulous individual, soul, incarnation of whatever, you know. But he talks about happiness quite a bit in his talks. It's, we're all humans being. So when you see another human being, that's your sister, that's your brother. You know, and we all have the potential to love, and we also want to avoid suffering. So what we do for ourselves, we do for one another, potentially. Now, the movie called Happiness, I was down in Sarasota, Florida, teaching sometime this winter, and one of the priests down there said, "Oh, Dan, you've got to get this movie. You've got to see it. I've got a copy. Let's watch it tonight." I said, "Great. You know, who would not want to watch a happy movie?" So it starts out with a family, I think in India or something, and they're living in a hovel from our point of view. All right, it's sort of a makeshift house made out of canvas and wood and probably cardboard. Now, I've been to India 4 times, and when I was in Bombay, one of the most startling things that I saw were the slums in Bombay. There was just mud everywhere, and people, if you were lucky, you had a cardboard box to live in. Kids were playing in the streets and laughing. They were happy. Yeah. So anyway, this movie starts out in India, and here's a man who has a rickshaw. And he has a family, and he lives in this little community of other people who were also in the same condition in life, you know. And they basically asked him if he was happy. He said, "Oh, yes. When I go to work every day, it's a hard job, but I'm working, and I meet all kinds of people in my rickshaw. You know, it's a job. But when I come home, my son greets me. 'Hi, Dad.' Yeah, that's what makes me happy." Well, then they go into the scientific realm of whatever. You know, we all appreciate that here in the West. And so they give you this big pie-shaped diagram, and they say, okay, what percentage of this pie diagram is the stuff that's going to make you happy? And of course, they interview all these kids working on Wall Street and all this other kind of thing. And one kid says, well, you know, I'm going to really be happy when I make $1 gazillion. That'll make me happy. And well, when I get my Bentley, then I'll be happy, and all this kind of stuff. And basically, you know what size of the pie that is? Little piece. Money does not make you happy. But what is money? It's God. Where does it come from? Rocks, trees, paper, coal, whatever, you know. It's all made of God. It's all good. Our perception of money is what makes it good or bad. How it's being used makes it good or bad from our point of view. We generally say money is the root of all evil. People who are wealthy are not nice people, and all this kind of thing. Well, that's really not true. It's a perception of what you appear to think that they're doing and feeling. Well, I've known a lot of people from every walk of life. In my life, I've been around the world twice. I've met all kinds of people. Some are very happy, and they're very well-to-do, and they're very generous. Others are not. Many poor people, the same thing. So it's not really about that. So it didn't matter. Happiness did not come from making a lot of money. And it was exponential. The more you made, the less inclined you were to be happy. That's kind of strange. The other thing was, it wasn't your education, your status in the community, your value in terms of whatever. Those things were very almost superficial. Now, what they found out of this whole thing, which I'm sure you can appreciate, because you've created that here in terms of community. The thing that made people happy were family and friends. Why do you take a job in Boston and then move all the way back to St. Paul to be with your family and friends? Oh God, the winters are terrible, but my family's there. So there was a family down in Louisiana, right on the bayou, and every week that whole family gets together and shares a meal. They speak English, French, you know, they're eating crabs and they're laughing, they're telling jokes. They meet every single week. When do we do this? Maybe what, 2-3 times a year? We call it what, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever, Easter, the holidays. We tend to get together, then we tolerate our families and can't wait for them to leave so we can have some sanctity back in our lives. And yet, this is what makes us happy. You know, it's really fun. Richard Bach, Illusions. Not every member of your family was raised under the same roof, correct? I have people who are my brothers. I never had a brother, who are closer to me than probably my brother if I had one at this point. You know, who knows? I have 2 surviving sisters. I have women all around the planet who are my sisters. Buddha said, a stream has a name, a river has a name, and yet they all flow into the ocean, and then they lose their identity. Those then become my sisters and brothers. I am the father and mother of all who follow. Interesting. So we have, a lot of wonderful examples of how to choose to be happy, choose to laugh or not, choose to remain in our solitude or not. What's interesting, we have artificial society now. I have so many friends on Facebook, I don't even know most of these people. They're friends of friends of friends and friends, and so I just click confirm. I don't care, it doesn't matter to me. But I don't know them. Now, when I was a little boy, right after the Civil War, we used to have a milkman, a bread man, an ice man, a rag man, a postman, a newspaper kid. We had all of those people in our lives that were part of our family, part of our community. Now we go to the grocery store, there goes the milkman. You get your newspaper or not, they're going out of business, there goes the newspaper boy. So we're diminishing our family, but we're going electronic with people we don't even know. Well, I'm a friend of Susie, who's a friend of so-and-so, and so they recommended, so here I am, and may I be your friend. Well, who wouldn't want a friend? We can all use a lot of friends. But when it comes right down to the time when you might choose to be sick because you stop laughing, you need a friend to be there with you, to hold your hand. About 2 weeks ago, one of my friends transitioned, passed over, Helen. She was one of my hosts up in upstate New York. Helen developed breast cancer about 3 years ago. She chose to just let it ride. So when I saw her in early May, she was now with a walker, in her early 50s, misshapen from the cancer and all that. And Helen was the kind of person who would not allow anyone to help her with anything. She had to be in control. Excellent businesswoman, but in control, So if you wanted to move a candle, no, it's got to be a little more that way. No, and you had to do it just her way, or she was not a happy camper, and you did not want Helen to be unhappy, So anyway, here's Helen. She had told me on the phone, I'm not feeling well. I thought maybe she had a little summer cold or something. I didn't see her since December. I walked in and I'm going, oh my, I'll probably not see her in her body the next time. So anyway, we were chatting. She said, Dan, one of my breasts rotted off. I've not been to a doctor. I've chosen not to go there, but I am going to go tomorrow and find out, what the path is. So I'm sitting there, and there are people running all over Helen's house, cleaning, putting things here and there and all that. And she let go of having to have that candle just in the right place. I said, Helen, look at this. Look at all these people, your friends helping you. 2 weeks later, Helen was in bed, getting ready to go home. Who was with Helen? Not her Facebook. Her friends. Her family was all gone. Her mom had died in that house, her dad had died in that house, her brother died in that house, and now she was dying in that house. Who was with her? Her friends. People that had done workshops at her house, people that had known Helen for years. They held hands with her, and they sang to her, and they were around her bed, and they prayed with her until she went to see her mom and her dad and her brother and all the rest of our friends. Now that's a Facebook I wouldn't mind being in touch with. But when it comes time to connect, I go to New York City quite often to work, in Washington and all that, and you go there and there are thousands of people all over the place, and yet we're trying to not see one another. We don't talk to each other unless you bump, oh, I'm terribly sorry, I touched you, this kind of thing. A lot of us go from week to week without a hug, without a physical touch, without a kiss, without a love gesture of any kind, and yet what are we all? We're humans being. And we're perfect, and we're full of unconditional love, and we keep it inside ourselves. I'm just like the rest of you, I was raised by an English mom. All right, we got hugs and kisses until we were about 11 or 12, and then it was like, oh. And I know at 3 o'clock, it's time for tea. I can be anywhere on this planet, it's 3 o'clock, up, time for tea, I did get that. But what she was not was demonstrative with her love and affection. Oh, she loved us, all right. But she didn't demonstrate it. So when I had my 3 children, which are now all adults, and now I have grandchildren from them, I learned that a way to really communicate effectively, not just say, I love you, is to touch, to listen. When I had problems, I would go to my mother, and she would listen, and she never judged, she never commented. She said, would you like another cup of tea? I just needed her to listen. We have that. They know what we feel. They know we raised them. They know what our